Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of Empath Academy. I am Stephanie Levinston, Intuitive Channel, and so excited to start off today's talk with a quiz so that you can determine if you are an empath. So we talked about some of the characteristics of what it means to be an empath in class 1. And I'm just going to dive right in now and give you guys a little quiz so that you can see how many yeses you answer to, which will give you a sense for not what type of empath you are, but how much of an empath you are. So as you listen to these questions, just answer yes or no. And when you answer yes or no, it doesn't have to be something where you always feel that way, but if you have had the experience of feeling that way or identifying with what's being, the question that's being offered more than once or with some frequency, then go ahead and answer yes to it. Then you're going to tally up all your yeses, and at the end we're going to count them, and I will tell you where you fall in determining the results of those, how much of an empath you are. Again, this is coming from Dr. Judith Orloff's book, The Empath's Survival Guide. Here we go. Have you ever been labeled overly sensitive, shy, or introverted? Do you frequently get overwhelmed or anxious? Do arguments and yelling make you ill? Or, I would say, not necessarily ill, but deeply affect you, where you feel constriction in your heart or in your gut when there's arguments or yelling going on. Do you often feel like you don't fit in? Do crowds drain you? Or do you need alone time after being in crowds to replenish your energy? Do noise, odors, or nonstop talkers overwhelm you? Do you have chemical sensitivities or a low tolerance for scratchy clothes? Do you prefer taking your own car to places so that you can leave when you want to? Do you overeat to cope with stress? Are you afraid of becoming suffocated by intimate relationships? And I would add to that one, just to extend how you think about it, not necessarily fear of being suffocated perhaps, but do you avoid intimate relationships or keep them at bay because you feel like you might lose yourself within that? Do you startle easily? Do you react strongly to caffeine or medications? Do you have a low threshold for pain? Do you tend to socially isolate? Or I would extend that one and say, or prefer alone time? Do you absorb other people's stress, emotions, or symptoms? Are you overwhelmed by multitasking and prefer to do one thing at a time? Do you replenish yourself in nature? Do you need a while to recuperate after being with difficult people or energy vampires? We all know, right, what those energy vampires are. People who really drain energy from us. We're not always present when it's happening, but you leave that environment, that interaction, and you feel totally spent. Do you feel better in small cities or the country rather than large cities? And last question, do you prefer one-on-one interactions and small groups to large gatherings? Okay, tally up your points for all the yeses you have. If you answered yes from between 1 and 5 questions, you're at least a partial empath. If you answered yes to 6 to 10 questions, you have moderate empath tendencies. If you answered yes to 11 to 15 questions, you have strong empath tendencies. And if you answered yes to more than 15 questions, you are a full-blown empath. So some of you might be surprised by your results here. Maybe you didn't give a lot of thought to what being an empath meant. Maybe you've heard it before, but weren't sure how it would resonate with you. And now that we've been discussing more of the characteristics, and now that we've taken this quiz, I want to know from you, where do you fall in this empath category? Are you full-blown? Are you partial? What are you present to? Some people, after taking this quiz, have already been responding to me and letting me know how surprised they were that they were full-blown empath when they weren't actually present to how many of the characteristics they possessed. And remember, some of these questions sound really, really strong in their language, but if you feel like that with some frequency, then I would give it a yes. And some frequency doesn't have to mean every week or every month, but where this is something that you continually experience or grapple with, these characteristics, these questions, then give it a yes and see where you fall in this category. And remember, like I've said, being an empath is a superpower. It is a blessing. It is a gift. There are not a lot of us here on the planet, and we tend to bring so much beautiful, loving energy and wisdom forward for others, for ourselves, for the planet, for nature. We are very, very powerful. If we can learn to harness the energy and the power of being an empath, to direct it in the ways that serve us and serve others well. And if we can learn to take stock and responsibility of our internal landscape, what our energy is, being able to do a constant reading, taking our pulse, our energetic pulse, then we can identify where we need to be routing some more self-love and self-care, so that as we embrace our empath gifts, we can use them without having them constantly be in use by others. We can consciously direct how we want to use these gifts, how and when we want to perceive the information that being an empath allows us to perceive, right? We're able to pick up on truth even when others around us are insisting on non-truth. We are able to discern important things from conversations, from energy, from reality that other people might not pick up on. And when we can be present to that, we can use it to inform and influence in really important ways. So let me know how you did on the quiz, and I look forward to seeing you all back for day 3 of Empath Academy.